So hello everybody, my name is André Machado and I'll be presenting my Capstone project on the Equifax data breach, so some defensive and offensive strategies. Before I start talking about the incident itself, I would like to introduce to you the Equifax company. So they're basically a consumer credit reporting agency, providing credit and demographic data to companies, as well as selling credit monitoring and fraud prevention services directly to consumers. So you can see that data is very much in the core business of this company, and they're also one of the three largest consumer credit reporting agencies in the US. So if we take the chronology of the incident, the US Department of Homeland Security Computer Emergency Readiness Team, they sent Equifax a notice of the need to patch a particular vulnerability. So the company was alerted about the vulnerability before the attack occurred. And Equifax even disseminated this notice internally by email, requesting to the appropriate team the upgrade of the concerning software presenting the vulnerability. So this alert was internally disseminated. Um, Equifax Information Security Department, they were running regular scans that should have identified this vulnerability, but it did not. And also there's evidence that the attacker accessed sensitive information, exploiting the same vulnerability for a long period of time before being discovered, and Equifax security tools, they were unable to detect it. So there was a big detection failure, which resulted in the data breach that we know, and that exposed over 140 million individuals. So it exposed PII of those individuals, uh, resulting in reputation loss, market value loss, lawsuits, and also government investigations. So the vulnerability itself, it's the CVE 2017-5638, and CVE stands for Common Vulnerability Exposure. This vulnerability affects the Apache Struts Web Application Framework, which is a framework used to create dynamic pages, normally for Java 2 Enterprise Edition. And it enables the execution of arbitrary commands on the web server, which is very, very dangerous and can be very powerful depending on the rights that you have in this web server and how it is connected inside of the system. So this framework is used in Equinox Online Disputes Portal. So it was very important to make this patch about this vulnerability. And Equinox did not apply the patch for the known Apache vulnerability in a timely manner and was unable to detect the vulnerability with the tools in place. So that's one of the biggest problems. I'll talk about the organizational and governance issues right now. So we can see inadequate cybersecurity practices. So starting from poor asset management, you can see that there was not a very good job in terms of identification, classification, and prioritization of the cybersecurity strategies. We can see inefficient scans and detection tools because they were not able to detect even when they were performing regular scans or during the attack itself. And also some important software patching delays which enabled this vulnerability to be exploited. Also, we can see poor data governance, so some basic IAM failures, such as unencrypted credentials. There were in this server, they were able to access some plain text passwords of some credentials having important rights or administrative rights. Also, they were not using multi-factor authentication that could have made it a bit harder for the attackers to exploit the system. We can also see some defense in depth gaps. So there was no system or network segmentation. So through this portal that was using the Apache struts, they could get credentials to connect to other systems and access other databases that contain this private identified information that was exfiltrated. Also, we can see an inefficient incident response plan. So there are lots of problems on communication, both internally and externally, lack of coordination and decision making. So some incident response missteps, first of all, is the delay in public disclosure. So the attack started already by March 2017, but it was only disclosed to the community by October. So many months between the beginning of the attack and the once the information was publicized. Also, when it became public, the community felt a bit of they were attempting to minimize the incident, so they're not saying exactly how many people were affected by the time. So there was a lack of transparency and even respect for affected individuals, with lots of mistakes and errors, such as poorly designed and insecure response website that was raising security and privacy concerns. So basically, they created a secondary website, not the main one of the company, and people would need to enter their social security number in order to see if their social security number was affected by this attack, which is even a bit weird if you think about it. So also Equifax official Twitter account, they tweeted multiple messages with a link that was a phishing link, and it was observed, it was noted by some users. Also, there was this insider trading scandal. So some members of the board, they sold out their some shares of the company after this attack was discovered internally, but before it was disclosed to the population. So how could it be different? The first point I would like to talk about is the proactive defense. So the company must have a comprehensive response plan, and they must perform some attack simulations to see if the response plan is adequate and if the roles of people involved in the response plan if is clear to everybody and how they should deal with it. So it's also important to use some offensive strategies in order to train the team that is responsible for the plan. The application of the NACE framework principles. So it's like to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So it's important to have this holistic approach to cybersecurity in the company. So also using some defensive strategies and offensive strategies to protect the most valuable assets and most valuable information of the company. Also, uh, they could have focused on having a better, timely, and transparent communication with the community with immediate disclosure of the incident. And also, there are some ethical considerations and legal compliancy. So, it it's very important to have a customer-centric approach during this moment of crisis because the customers are the ones who are the most affected by the incident, and they felt that they were sort of left behind when they were dealing with it. And also like to have some legal review of everything that will be of all the decisions and the communications to avoid future problems. So some solutions to prevent or lessen the impacts of the incident. First of them is like better identification of sensitive information. So the defensive strategy should that could have put in place is to implement better data classification so you can prioritize the resources and protect it better. Also to use a benchmark detection and logging tools. So to have continuous monitoring and to use functional detection tools, because even if they were having some regular scans, they're not able to detect it efficiently. Um, to to use network and system segmentation, so in case one system gets compromised, it will not affect other systems that are also used by the company. Better data governance, so access controls, encryption, the use of least privilege strategy, not to give too much power to users that do not really need them, and also always try to use multi-factor authentication because it's one of the way to protect if someone discovers some passwords, or even like there will be malicious actors inside of the company. The multi-factor authentication can prevent them to escalate an attack. Also, it's important to perform a secure configuration of the system. So it was known that there was no limitation in terms of queries to the database. So the attacker could just make a very uncommon query could and he could receive many information which was not normal during for the operations of the system. So they could have limited these queries and the access control. And also it's very important to have regular trainings on cybersecurity to everybody, especially for the people responsible for the response of incidents. And also many offensive strategies such as penetration testing, red and blue team, and attack simulations to identify weaknesses in the protective system and response plan. So some lessons that we can learn from this attack, from this incident. First of all is a very fundamental lesson, which is you should know your business. So private identifiable information was very much in the heart of Equifax business, and they failed to protect it. So it's true that an incident such as a data breach would affect a lot of them and the reputation of the company. So other key lessons is proactive risk management. So it's important to have a regular risk and vulnerability assessment uh, to check if everything is okay, everything is protected, and also to take special care of patches, especially the safety ones, and especially the ones that are alerted by the government institutions, and also pay attention on the configuration to disable everything that is not needed. So learning and improvement and improving. So like it's also important to have a post-incident analysis and to have a better and resilient system against failures in the future. In terms of incident response, so it's crucial to develop and update an incident response plan, and also to have some attack simulations, especially the ones provided by third party companies, because they can help us to see the weaknesses of our defense strategy. In terms of communication, so to have a communication plan based on transparency and honesty, in order to try not to lose the reputation with the consumers. Rapid patching, so prioritize security patches, as I said. Some other things is also during crisis moments, it's important to have a sort of dedicated customer support. So they can include a tailored customer support to talk with users that got affected. So in order to calm them down and to explain what's going on and to be very much transparent about the situation with them and what they can do to protect themselves after the attack. So in order also to mitigate side effects of the attack afterwards, and also enhanced security measures such as always use encryption, multi-factor authentication, always use segmentation. So basically everything related to defense in depth strategy, it's very important. It's very much the most basic thing that everybody must do in order to protect the systems and the information and the sensitive assets, and also to collaborate with authorities in order to have a better recovery of the incident. So it's important to accept that cyber attacks are inevitable, and what's really making the difference for organization is to be prepared, because they may happen, uh, and also to implement an effective response and recovery strategy, and to prioritize a customer-centric approach during the response and recovery, and everything to minimize damage to the image and rebuild trust quickly. So thank you.